Nemo of We Are Change Connecticut. I want to give a shout out to Bobby K and thank him for assisting us in getting the broadcast out while the Informed radio servers are down. Thank you, Bobby K.
Don't assume it was left by accident. If you see something, say something.
I don't think that private institutions have control over anything currency.
We need a manufacturing base, and then our economy will take off like a rocket.
A special televised meeting of the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations provides a window to the real story.
The speaker, Vice President Dick Cheney, takes a question from David Rockefeller.
Vice President, I just enjoyed so much your whole speech, but I was particularly pleased that you gave such a strong endorsement for the free trade agreement for all the Americas, subject that has been of great concern to me for many years.
Yes, you collectivist scum.
I think it's absolutely essential for the strength of our economy.
Rockefeller's role in the drive for an FTAA was a lot more central than he portrays. Rockefeller cultivated Latin American leaders who could be counted on to support such a proposal. Both the 1994 Miami Summit and the FTAA proposal were conceived and nurtured by a Rockefeller-created network. Prominent among the organizations sponsoring the Miami event were the Council of the Americas, founder and honorary chairman David Rockefeller, the Americas Society, chairman David Rockefeller, the Forum of the Americas, founder David Rockefeller, the Institute for International Economics, financial backer and board member David Rockefeller, the Trilateral Commission, founder and honorary chairman David Rockefeller.
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, I guess, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have this far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
He was chairman emeritus of the CFR when Vice President Dick Cheney once served as a director, a relationship that Cheney concealed during his congressional career.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Too many kids are what's making the planet worse.
A lot of these kids come from bad gene pools. They don't have stable parents making good decisions.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
Fluoride in water is supposed to fight tooth decay, but could it also cause cancer?
Turns out the government had the right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions.
The government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted.
Any attempt to achieve world order must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
There's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
The Great Wall is no longer a wall dividing China from the rest of the world, but it is a reminder of the fact that there are many walls still existing in the world which divide nations and peoples. But we are determined that those differences not prevent us from living together in peace. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which by any decent standard they ought not to enjoy.
What is at stake is more than one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Freedom and the rule of law.
Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
I think its task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity and it's a crisis.
A new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital, unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question. Am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
Now the UN is backing a plan to change all of that and create a new global currency.
We are change, exposing the collectivist global elites' Malthusian quest for a new world order. A one-world dictatorial government where all aspects of human life are under their control. Truth Talk Radio, where news the mainstream media ignores is the top story and your voice is heard.
Good afternoon, I'm Howard Nema, and you are, of course, watching We Are Change Connecticut. My good friend Vinny B. the Truth, my partner in liberty, is, again, having a lot of issues that have to be attended to elsewhere, but he, of course, is with us in spirit. And a shout out to you and your family, and hope things are well. Vincent Gillespies is going to be our guest in just a few minutes. He was recommended to me by my good friend Melanie here in Connecticut, another patriot, getting the information of truth out. And this is going to be regarding the case of Ellen Mariani, who will be showing a video, who'll talk in her own words about what's happened to her. And she needs to raise $11,000 by November 1st to proceed with her appeal to the United States Supreme Court. The Ellen Mariani Legal Defense Fund was unable to raise the money by previous deadline to collect the funds. However, her attorney, Bruce Lychee, filed an application for an extension of time to file with the U.S. Supreme Court, and an extension was granted, and a new filing date as of 11/23/12. This means that they can continue fundraising up until 11/1, which would leave them 3 weeks and 1 day to prepare the file and brief. And if they succeed, Ellen Mariani's case will be appealed to the Supreme Court. Hopefully we can attain this for that. I mean, I'll do anything I can to help. The story is terrible. Again, I lost a family member, and I know that they did give family members money and told them to be quiet. And it's just a terrible thing. So now we're going to be joined by Vincent Gillespies. He's calling in right now and answering. Vincent, are you there? Vincent, can you hear me?
It's I can only hear you broken up.
Well, I don't know. It's very sort. I hear you, but it's a little noisy. How about now?
Okay.
It's a little
this
better.
doesn't work, we'll just switch. I can hear you, but there's gaps in the sound.
All right. Well, why don't we talk about Ellen's case?
Sure. So, you want me to just start, or
go right into it? Sure, yeah, go into it.
Howard?
Yes.
I think that there might be too many problems. I think I better call back on the cell phone.
All right, why don't
really
you do that?
trouble.
Why don't you try the cell phone, or I call again on the cell phone? Sure.
Okay.
Okay, yeah, he was Skyping in. Maybe there's a Skype problem there. Anyway, we ended that. So I'll just have him, he'll just call us in right away. Anyway, to begin on this case, again, her husband perished on 9/11. My cousin Al did too. Here, he's calling in now. And let him answer. Okay, you're on the air.
Okay.
Sounds a lot. It does sound a lot better, actually. A stronger signal.
Okay. Good. So shall I? You want me to just?
Yeah, go into it. I went into a brief. Synopsis of it.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Well, okay. After 9/11, there were. I'm stepping outside, so there'll be less background noise. After 9/11, there were, many families that wanted to find justice in the courts. There was a victims' compensation fund that was set up by Congress, and most of them took the money, and then part of that is they agreed to not sue anybody. But there were 96 cases, approximately 90, I believe it's 96, that said, no, you know what, we don't want that. We want to find justice in the courts. We also want to find out what happened. We want a trial. All those cases were routed through the courtroom of Judge Alvin Hellerstein, and every one of those cases, every one of them was bullied, badgered, manipulated, pressured, and just basically forced to settle out of court. Every one. So not one has gone to trial. There's not been one trial out of all those cases. And Ellen Mariani is the last one still standing. Her case has been settled over her strong objections, but she's still fighting. There's still ways to keep on fighting in the courts.
But 80 people, they buried 80 people basically again on top of the misery of this horrendous lie of 9/11. That they had the audacity to bury these cases. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, it's 96 cases. Yeah.
96 cases. That's even worse. It's unbelievable.
Yeah. And they just don't want people to come to trial. They don't want these to come to trial because a trial involves discovery, and trial involves deposing people under oath, and there's all kinds of evidence that can turn up, and they don't want that to happen. It's a way of having an investigation. So, but she's trying to. So, what she wants to do now is to appeal to the U.S. Supreme Court. It's called a petition for writ of certiorari, and there's so many improprieties. There's a lot that her attorney would have to write about in the brief. But we need to raise money to do that. We need to raise $11,000 by November 1st. So we've got over 3,000 right now.
What's the website they can donate at? Why don't you tell everybody listening?
Okay. MarianiLawsuit.com. That's MarianiLawsuit.com. And you can donate online. You can also send checks or money orders. Right now, architects and engineers for 9/11 Truth put us front and center, which is great. It's helped. We're getting more activity. We're getting more donations in, but it's still a long way we have to go. It's over 76, forget exactly what it is. Over $7,000 that we still need by November 1st. So we're really doing everything we can, and I very much appreciate you having me on your show because that'll help. That's a thumbnail synopsis. There's been all kinds of improprieties in the legal processes that have gone on Shall I discuss a few of them, or what?
We have the full hour here, sir. And we're here for a lot of information. So yeah, let's go into this. Now, right now, I'm showing the viewing audience and listening audience the Ellen Mariani Legal Defense Fund, which is at MarianiLawsuit.com, and what the page looks like. And again, this is a video that I'll show in a little bit later. But why don't you, go into this in detail, Vince? Go ahead.
Okay. Well, there have been just endless improprieties, and I've written down a list of them here. I can go through some of them, but some of the bigger ones. First of all, there's Judge Hellerstein. Judge Hellerstein, as it turns out, and this is in the appellate briefs of Ellen's attorney. It turns out he's got connections to the defendant. Judge Hellerstein himself is Jewish. He's very much involved in the Jewish community. His wife was head of this organization, or in a high position in this organization called Amit, and he was serving on several Jewish committees, Jewish organizations. His son works at a Jewish law firm in Israel. His sister made Aliyah and lived in Israel. But more specific, and then several of the defendants were Israeli companies. So there's a connection there, and obviously he might want to defend these defendants. But more specifically, his son, Joseph Hellerstein, works at this Israeli law firm called Amit Pollack and Matalan. I might be not quite remembering it right. I think it's something like Amit Pollack and Matalan. And that law firm represented a company called BOS, Better Online Solutions. And one of the guys on the board of directors of that company, of Better Online Solutions, is a guy named Boaz Harel. He's an Israeli citizen. Well, his family has a controlling interest in ICTS, an Israeli security company. Now, when I say controlling interest, I mean they own more than 50% of the stock. That means you have total control of the company. Well, that company is the parent company of Huntley USA. That's the passenger screening company at Logan that supposedly let Logan Airport, that supposedly let all these hijackers on the plane. Both of those companies, Huntley USA and ICTS, were defendants. They were defendants in this case. So Judge Hellerstein has improper connections with these defendants in that case. And that's very significant. That shows, real potential for bias. And there are so many other things. Earlier on, backing up in time, and let me just finish this thought. I mean, he's really shown a very hostile, he doesn't want a trial to come forward. He's done everything to just kind of smash Ellen's case, to put it in simple terms. But earlier on, what happened was Ellen was in the probate court. She was originally the administrator of her husband's estate. And when she started kind of talking about 9/11 truth, she wants to use the case to find out what's going on and whatnot. The lawyers got upset, and they kind of pressured her, and they also tricked her, and they wanted her to get her out of the position of administrator, and they were going to get in the supposedly neutral guy, John Ransmeyer. He's an attorney, and he was supposed to take over, and he was supposed to be neutral. So they gave her a contract to sign. This is in the New Hampshire court. They read it aloud, she signs it, but then they don't give her a copy, and they don't give her a copy till weeks later, and then the text is completely different. The text that they give, this is the most outrageous stuff is going on. Yeah. And,
fraud.
And she can't prove it because there was no recording. This was happening in a side room in the New Hampshire court. So, but then this guy Ransmeyer, I mean, he's really a piece of work here. I mean, I would describe him as very corrupt. One of the things they discovered later on, Bruce Lichty, that's Ellen Mariani's attorney, and Ellen, he was representing United Airlines and some of the insurance companies involved, including a company called Zurich American Insurance Company, at the same time that he was settling her case against them. I mean, that's a total conflict of interest.
Yes.
And he brings this up to Judge Hellerstein, And Ellen had previously made a motion it's called a motion to intervene, and that was denied. Well, she made another motion like that when she discovered this. When I say she, I mean her attorney or her. When they discovered this, they bring up this incredible conflict of interest, and Judge Hellerstein just dismisses it, and he just said, "Oh, that's just a rehash of the previous." That's not a rehash. That's a huge conflict of interest. Right. And there's so many, it just reeks with corruption. This whole process, it's just a rigged process.
Look what it turned into. It turned into war with a country that had nothing to do with who attacked us, and oil and heroin, lithium. Banking, toppling governments. This is where we've gone, Vince. Wouldn't you say? I mean, it's all in that direction, right? War and control and loss of liberty for our nation. A false flag event that took away the rights of the American people continuously. Now, what I'm doing right now could be considered a terrorist act. You and I could be considered terrorists. You know that?
Well, I hear you exactly. No, it's very worrisome what's going on in this country. The NDAA that they passed, that law that allows them to arrest people just hold them without trial indefinitely, is an extraordinary infringement of our rights.
It's an affront. It's an affront to our liberty.
Yes. And all of this has been put into place. It's been kickstarted. This war on terror has been kickstarted by this 9/11, which the official story makes no sense, and that's why they don't want a trial, because they don't want people digging up the truth of what happened.
It's just unbelievable. It's unbearable. But the truth will come out. I mean, we just got to keep. I mean, every year, it never goes away. I was down at Ground Zero this year, and it's a peaceful thing. It's waking people up. There's good information. People are starting to see the light. They're starting to understand. As things continue to decay in this country, why? And this is a big reason why our nation was hit. And they were hit hard economically, and then let's boost up the economy and put all these laws into place to give people access to money, and always just a very, very bad thing. Very bad thing.
Yeah. I mean, it's extraordinary. I mean, and this guy Mitt Romney, who may get in, I mean, he's all ready to fight the next war against Iran, which is like World War III. I've seen videos of Russian. There was a Russian general, another very high-ranking Russian, just saying, "Look, we're just not going to let you do what you did to Syria. We're not going to let you do that to. What you did to Libya. We're not going to let you do what you did to Syria. To do that to Syria or Iran. Those are guaranteed allies of ours. They're just not going to let that happen again." And the powers that be, they don't care. They want to push us into this war. So it's very, very worrisome. And all these things are connected. That's why it's really important that we do dig up in a trial, in the legal process, or in whatever way we can. And the way I'm working is in this legal process to get Alan Mariani's appeal filed and to keep pursuing and not give up and keep pursuing this legal avenue. It's in the interest of all of us to find the truth here. And so that's why this appeal should go forward. And I want to ask everyone to please, donate. So we really need the money. If we can't get the money in time, we can't appeal. So we really. And if you don't have money, at least what you can do is go to the website, get like say our news release, and spread it around to people. Send it around to people so that other people can donate. So that's what I would ask. If you don't feel you can donate, at least take our website and spread it around throughout others, Facebook.
Right. I mean, this is a big thing. It's very big because again, everybody that the quote unquote truth movement, it's all based around 9/11, at least in the common era, and this is the whole idea of they've been stonewalling the truth for more than a decade now. And it's time to open the books and to stop the corruption. It's just the lies. Look. It's impossible for the way that it happened, that they said it happened to happen. Period. Right there, it needs another investigation in any way, shape, or form.
Right. Well, yeah. That's the other thing is everyone keeps one of the mantras of the 9/11 truth movement is we need a new investigation. We need a new investigation. The government's never going to do a good job. Even if they eventually consent to another investigation, unless it comes from the people somehow, the federal government is never going to do it. This is one way to do it, is to push it through a trial. Every other trial has been shut down. Ellen Mariani she's still fighting to try to get this investigation. Let's meet her halfway. This is not that much money for a nation.
Well, listen, for those that are listening, let's hear Ellen in her own words here. For the next, it's a little clip. It's about 10 minutes long or so, and everyone can listen along, and we'll talk about it, and you'll get an understanding of what happened and how this legal system is. There's a collusion here that's obvious, and let's get into this deeply or afterwards. All right, so everybody here, this is Ellen Mariani in her own words.
Tonight, I have a very big gag order on me from the lawyers and the judges. For the lawyers and the judges. I have hired and fired probably 8 attorneys. When you get older, you get wiser. You can only lie so many times, and then it's over. I lost Neil, my husband of 13 years. He was the love of my life. It wasn't my first marriage, so it was love at first sight. I want everybody to remember one thing. Never say never. Because I was introduced by a friend, and we don't have time to talk about it, but I thought he was playing a joke on me. So I stood this man up for 1 hour, thinking, he's just playing a joke. I turned the opposite way to my right instead of getting out of the car the right way. And I dreaded looking at him. I couldn't believe what I saw standing there. He was perfect for me. I wished I'd met him years before. We were married 13 years. It would have been 20 years today, or in July.
Sorry about
See, and
that.
I can't talk about what has happened. If anybody has ever looked up what I've done, why they have put a gag order on me. The open letter to the president. Has anybody ever read the open letter to the president?
Okay.
I want to say so much, and I can't.
I'll call back in 10 minutes.
Because they have forbidden me. Because I'm known all over the world. And I didn't mean to, but the day, 7 years today, I was on a plane at 6 in the morning going to my daughter's wedding. You can see the first one, I can look right here, was when we were married in '88. If somebody's gonna push this, I don't know how to. That's when Neil and I were married. We were so happy. Push that, okay. Thank you, Vincent. It would have been 20 years. And while waiting 10 hours to be told by United Airlines that my husband really was on flight 175, I wasn't treated very nice. Could have been my age. It could have been just they were trained to be very firm and stern. We had to ask for something to drink. I had a counselor or a trauma lady with me, and we had gone over to United Airlines in Chicago, their terminal. They didn't want me there. Too bad. I wanted to know if my husband had gotten on that plane. First they said, guess what, ladies and gentlemen? He's not on that plane. We can't find his name. Oh, this is even more interesting. My question is, did he really get on that plane? About 20 years before that, they stopped all relatives to going to the boarding where you get board the plane. They stopped everybody. So I'm wondering if this wasn't planned years ago. So if you had a child getting on, you had to have a special pass. So we don't know if he actually got on. But 10 hours later, they said, Mrs. Mariani, pick up that phone. Nasty. I pick up the phone, and they said to me, Louis Neil Mariani was on flight number 175. Boom, went her telephone. I was in shock, but I was brought up not to cry. I didn't cry. I held it in. My heart ached. I wouldn't talk. I just walked with the trauma lady. I could count every square. I couldn't look at anybody. Nobody could look at me. I was the only one that lost a loved one. You see, Neil was 2 hours behind me getting on the same plane. We kissed each other goodbye. We get there 3 minutes apart in LA for my daughter's wedding. While in Chicago, they informed me he was gone. And I didn't know until the next day that he hit the second tower. This is the ticket that, it's an itinerary of the United Airlines for Louis Neil Mariani. We lived in New Hampshire at the time. And it said in there, which was very hard, I don't know if we can see it here. Don't know if you can see it. No, we can't. My son-in-law helped me put this together. But it shows that he had boarded the plane at 8. I at 6 in the morning, and that was the end of my life at 63. Turned very different. There is Neil's plane, supposedly, ready to hit the tower. There it says, passenger. Now I can't figure this out to this day. Passenger on airplane United Airlines Flight 175 intentionally crashed into the World Trade Center. It's right on his death certificate. How could a passenger on Flight 175 intentionally crash? I don't know. It's not working. September 15th was my youngest daughter's wedding. Does she look happy? September 15th, she will have her 7th wedding anniversary. She is not happy. She is very affected. At the bottom here, I'm normally not, I hold up for the kids, my children. But guess what happened on that day? A helicopter hovered over my head and wouldn't leave. I thought I was going to die. I started gasping for air. If anybody's heard the feeling and the sounds of a helicopter over your head, it is horrible. Then I gave my posture. And then as they were kissing for the photographers, I had my hands up because they wouldn't let them kiss. They kept telling me to get a little closer, and I'm thinking, oh, this is great. My daughter's already upset. She's probably going to blow it right here. So I had my hands up thinking, oh my God. But it turned out okay. There is my husband. He loved popcorn. And so we wanted to put that in, and the other picture is the last picture. It was taken in April. There are no more. There are many tears for Neil and all of us, but I hold it inside. I try to be strong, and it has helped a lot of people. On the way out here, and I thank ARE Change for inviting me, I sat beside a pretty lady, and she had an accent, and she was from another country. She had been visiting, I now live in Colorado. She was visiting her brother in Denver. And I want to live in this country so bad, she says. She says the other countries are so dangerous. And I says, well, let me tell you a little story.
Wow, that's heavy. Interesting. Looks like it stopped. I mean, it's not over. There's actually another 2 minutes left. Okay, well, you're watching We Are Change Connecticut on truthbroadcastnetwork.com and listening on Project Freedom Radio and informedradio.com. So, in just a moment, we're going to hear back from Vincent Gillespies, who'll be calling in regards to this appeal for Ellen Mariani. That was pretty emotional, her account of how she dealt with 9/11. And now, of course, her attorney, Bruce Leidy, is presenting Ellen's case before the New Hampshire Supreme Court. He did in 2009. And there's a lot of links here, and you can look into more information about the case. But time is really of the essence. I mean, after all, the end of the month is near. And here we go. We have Vincent calling in. Vincent, you're on the air.
Okay, great.
Okay, that was a really heart-wrenching little piece there. Very personal, and I mean, I guess people that haven't really been affected personally don't understand, maybe better than others, but that was a really nice presentation. So give me some more information about this case and where we're going with it and things of that nature.
For sure. Well, one thing to talk about is just the impropriety. There have been so many improprieties, legal improprieties in this case. I mean, it's just one thing after another, and she's had this trail of destruction. Well, I don't know what the right word is. She's had like she mentioned in the video. There's been like 8 lawyers before Bruce Lichty, who she finally got. They've all been either disloyal, or they've been incompetent, or they've been. Most of them have been just basically in cahoots with the courts, and John Ramsmeyer is a particular. But Bruce Lichty, who she's got now, I know him, and he's doing a good job for her. He's really trying to fight for. He's been with her for 5 years now, and he's really trying to fight for the truth, and so they hate him. The court hates him, and one of the things that recently happened is he appealed one of Hellerstein's decisions, Judge Hellerstein's decisions, and he's pointing out this conflict of interest on the part of Judge Hellerstein, and many of the other issues, improprieties that have been going on, and the appeals court slapped him with this order that threatened to issue sanctions against him, and it was an order called an order to show cause, where he has to explain why they shouldn't sanction him. And, that could be it could have been $30,000 or something like that. It could have been a huge penalty. And it was not only against him, but against Ellen. But as it turns out, that's kind of been left in a limbo state, and I'm not sure if he's going to get any. It doesn't look like he's going to get sanctioned, but they threatened to do it, and they were going to do that. And, it turns out that he gets to the appeals court, and there one of the judges is Susan Carney. Well, she's married to Lincoln Kaplan, who's an editor at the New York Times, and he writes about the U.S. Supreme Court, and he's writing articles that that are very supportive of the official story on 9/11. And he's Jewish. He's very much involved with the Jewish community. The Chief Justice there is Dennis Jacobs. He's very much involved with the Jewish community. He took this trip to Israel, and he's met with Knesset members and all that. So there's the whole system. All of these judges are going to tend to have a bias when you have these Israeli defendants. And so,
well, I mean, I don't know necessarily, but I mean, it's an interesting coincidence. Yeah, I would have to agree. I mean, but they're like, I mean, they're not. I don't know. You think there's like it's just a coincidence, man, that they're Jewish. I mean, there's just corrupt people. What do you think?
Well, the head of Homeland Security, the former head of Homeland Security was also...
Well, the current one's Italian. I mean, what I'm trying to say is that it's like these people just happen to be, you know, of a bad ilk. You know, that's really my viewpoint.
Well, I mean, the current one is an Italian because she came in after Christopher Bolin, I believe it was he who really...
they're all...
he exposed...
Even worse criminals, Chernoff with making the deal that he made for Homeland Security to sell to Rapiscan, and then he became the CEO of Rapiscan. So I mean, there's just oh my God, I agree, but I think it's across the board. I wouldn't want to make a blanket statement that it's all Jews, you know. I just have to just say that, you know.
Yeah, okay. But I mean, I can go through some of these issues that happened in the court. I mean,
for example, Joe Biden is not Jewish, but he's a Zionist. That's my thought. That's how I'm going with this, you know.
Yeah.
Because Biden, Obama's not Jewish, but he's a Zionist too.
Yeah. But I mean, so many of his advisors are.
The Goldman Sachs runs our country, so you can't deny. I mean, the connections. I understand. You know, printing the money. Yeah.
But I mean, that's not the main point.
Right.
I don't need to hammer that.
Right. That's my point. Right.
Yeah. So, but the main point is we need to get this appeal filed, and we really need help from everybody. I can go through some of the other improprieties. You know, the one thing that's interesting, the listeners might find interesting, is to read Ellen Mariani's open letter of 2007. You can find it on our website, and she details some of the stuff that happened. She talks there about how she signed the contract, then she doesn't get it till 3 weeks later, and the text is all changed, like I mentioned earlier. She also mentioned how she was there was never anybody in any of the hearings for her case. This is in the New Hampshire court. And then after one of the hearings, she finds out that there was this sign on the door saying something like, you know, 9/11 hearings, don't come in. Nobody's, you know, private. Or I forget the exact words. You're not supposed to be doing that. These are supposed to be public hearings. Somebody put a sign on the door preventing people from coming in.
Yeah, that's right. That's a big problem.
And then this John Ramsmeyer was demanding that she get a mental health evaluation from a psychiatrist, and ostensibly, you know, he tried to present it in the way that it was like just to show how much she was damaged. But she really believed it was because to try to discredit her, because she was complaining about his conduct. And then anyway, she gets one, and she passes it, and then they're demanding another one. You know, so it's like they're just out to get her. And another thing that happened is that they submitted evidence when the settlement was being processed. I believe it was the appeals court specifically asked her to submit her comments because she was not a party at that time, and this is what she was trying to contest. So she submitted her comments, but John Ramsmeyer failed to file them. He failed to, you know, she's supposed to give her input on the settlement. She failed to file them. He submitted them under seal. That means in secret, in a secret packet. And the whole decision was made with the documents made under seal. Who knows what was in there? And they're still under seal. So it's like secret evidence. Judge Hellerstein made his decision based on evidence that we still don't know what it is. It's under seal. And also when they went to appeal, I know I'm jumping around on various issues here, but when they went to appeal, there were all these documents missing from the record. And the court says, well, we don't know where they are. We don't know where this document would be. So Bruce Liechty and Ellen Mariani, I mean, they're scrambling to try to find documents to fill in what they can on the record. There's all this stuff going on. It's just a totally rigged system that's how I would describe it.
Oh, yes, it is.
Yeah. And then Judge Hellerstein, and it just goes on and on. Judge Hellerstein, when he approved the settlement, the case was actually on appeal. Only one court can have jurisdiction at a time. He didn't have jurisdiction. That was in the jurisdiction of the appeals court. He just settles it anyway. But then Bruce Liechty, Ellen Mariani's attorney, raises this issue with the appeals court, and they don't mention it. And then it goes back down to him. It's just like so many improprieties. that should have been a basis to throw out the settlement. And then another thing Hellerstein did was he gave Charles Capass. Now, Charles Capass is an attorney who was working for John Ramsmeyer, and he never even represented Ellen. He never filed an appearance on Ellen's behalf, but he was representing her stepdaughter who had similar litigation. Hellerstein gave him $800,000 out of the settlement. Yeah, and that's like this huge amount, and that's out of the settlement that Ellen and whatever amount Ellen Mariani and her stepdaughter would have gotten. That comes right out of it. That's 20% of the whole thing, something like that. And he had no authority to do it. See, and this was out of the estate money that needed to be done. Any disbursement needed to be done by the probate court in New Hampshire. And so there's just on and on, this stuff is going on. And when Ramsmeyer settled the case, he didn't even consult with Ellen. He just informed her one day. He didn't ask her. He didn't, and she never even saw the settlement when she had to submit her comments on it. She wasn't even shown a copy of it. So I mean, it's just railroading this whole thing through. And by the way, Ellen Mariani, well, Bruce Liechty, they suspect that the reason why Charles Capass was given that $800,000 was basically because he helped screw up Ellen's case. And it was like a reward for that. But, I mean, we don't know that, but it's kind of what it looks like. So, I mean, if people knew this, what Hellerstein is counting on, Judge Hellerstein is counting on, is that nobody's going to really look into this. And then he writes an order, that's just a rehash. He's counting on nobody's going to really look at the evidence and see. And so far, pretty much that's what's going on. But if we get this appeal going, all this stuff may come to light. I mean, even if we get even the appellate brief, even the petition for writ of certiorari, which may or may not be granted, but even that petition will be out there, and a lot of these issues will be in there, and it'll help them come to light. So once again, it's really important that everybody help. We need, the money is coming in, but the deadline is coming up faster. We've got about $3,000 right now, a little over $3,000, but November 11th is only 10 days away. No, November 1st, I'm sorry, 10 days away. So we need another, I forget exactly what it is, 7,700 or something, 7,800, something like that. So I really want to urge everybody to help and to spread the website around. It's just important to all of us. That
plug the website again. Plug the website again. Okay. And then somebody was calling in. Whoever was calling in on the Skype 304. I got to add you to the call. So hold on one second. Let me see if I can get you added here. Hold on. This is gonna put you on hold there for a moment, Vin. Okay. Hello, you're on the air. Who am I speaking with?
Melanie.
Hi, Melanie. How you doing?
I'm okay. I just wanted to add one quick thing, too. I've sat in the courtrooms both in New Hampshire and New York for some time, and in both cases, the bounce of Ellen's back and forth, bounced back and forth, she was never, ever told she couldn't come back in.
Well, Melanie, if you want to join the conversation, I can add you to the call. Let me do this, and this would be interesting. Let me add. Let me get get over here so my ineptitude with navigating Skype won't be so obvious. Let's see. Okay. All right. Let me get. So anyway, keep going. Just talk while I'm doing this.
Well, I just, as I said, I've been sitting in the courtrooms for several years now, back and forth, even when they had so many people in New York that they sent an appeals process up to New Haven along with Ellen's and along with April Gallup's, just to, I think it was getting too many people were starting to get into these courtrooms listening to all of this, and quite interesting that I have always heard the judges say, Ellen can come back in. She can bring this back. If we do this, she can come back in. She can come back in. And now, after 11 years, they want to sanction them, both Ellen and her attorney, because of a frivolous lawsuit after 11 years. It's
unbelievable, yeah.
It's unbelievable. I just wanted to make that comment.
Okay, well, yeah, I'm going to have to put you back because I can't seem to add you to the call, but You have anything else you'd like to mention while you're on air here?
No, it's just that I think we need to get as much money together as possible for this legal defense fund.
Agreed. Great. So thank you very much.
Give it a chance.
Thanks, Melanie, and thanks for today. That was great information. I can't believe Melanie gave me a book from what year was that? In the 1990s? Yeah, Melanie had given me a book from the 1990s, exposing some information. It was awesome. Maybe she missed that on the end. I know who that was. It's a good friend Melanie, and I'm very happy that she called. So back to the other call. I don't know why it shouldn't have dropped. It should have just came in there. Why did I lose him? I am so not into this technical thing. There he is. He's coming back. Okay, sorry. It looks like I lost you there for a minute, Vince. I'm sorry, but that was Melanie calling.
Well, that was Melanie.
Yes.
Unfortunately, I couldn't hear it. Oh, she's been helping.
I know she's great, and she's the one that really requires the thanks, because she told me about it. I said, sure, let's get this going, and she's a great activist on her own right, and just gave some information about how the court system was jerking, this whole system around in New Hampshire. Just unbelievable. She gave some insight into that,
Oh, okay. Well, glad to have her participate. She's also been helping me with my workload. There's so many things to do with this website, and the pressure's on because the time is running out. But she's been helping along with some other people. I was starting to get out the website. Shall I continue with that?
Yeah, go right ahead. Please do.
Yeah, it's MarianiLawsuit.com. MarianiLawsuit. MarianiLawsuit.com. And you can also just send a check to P.O. Box 1284, Ellen Mariani Legal Defense Fund, P.O. Box 1284, Greenfield, Massachusetts, 01302. The checks should be made out to Ellen Mariani Legal Defense Fund. Otherwise, I might not be able to cash them. They should be made out to Ellen Mariani Legal Defense Fund.
And keep giving the information. After all, it's like radio. Like, this is live. People that are listening have until November 1st. Please, we need to get this money. But right. But it's it's an ongoing thing. So for the live people watching, let's give it to them again.
Okay, MarianiLawsuit.com. 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 And we really need help. We need about forget the exact number, about $7,800 more. We need it by November 1st if we're going to get this appeal going. We've got to get the money by then. So we really need help. And I'm also asking people to spread the message around. If you can't help, or even if you can, I'm asking you to take our news release. Our news release kind of summarizes the issues, and that's right on the website. Take it and send it out to everybody you know. That'll help. Or just send out the website address. That'll help. So
again, that's MarianiLawsuit.com. MarianiLawsuit.com.
That's .com. Yes. Should I cover a few other things?
Yeah, we're going to be taking a short break at the top of the hour. So have about 6 or 7 minutes to go. So yeah, please, let's continue on this path. And then the second part of the show, for those listening and watching, we're going to go over the insane things going on in the news of the last few weeks, and a couple of special surprises for the third hour. Okay, so yeah, go on, Vince. Continue.
Okay, well, so there are some more improprieties. Ramsmeyer, he admitted that he didn't even prepare for trial, and the same with Charles Capass. These are the attorneys that were working the case towards the end. They were never even intending to take Ellen's case to trial, and
of course not.
Yeah, but he admitted that they wanted to settle this thing just like Judge Hellerstein, just like the powers that be. Nobody wanted this to come to trial, and so it was only in 2007 that Ellen finally got Bruce Leakby. He's an attorney who really wants to fight and really wants to go against the system and get a trial and collect the evidence, and they hate him, and they've been slamming him down, and it's not just this order to show cause. There were other things they've done to him. There's so many, for example, just before he had this hearing in New York, and he had flown out there from California, they informed him the day before that there's this conflict of interest between Judge Parker and John Ramsmeyer. They know each other very well. So he didn't even have time to prepare a motion. He faxes in a letter. He says, look, this is the best I can do right now. Yes, I need him to recuse himself, and if necessary, I'll have to fly back to California, and we'll have to do this again. But yes, I need him to, they let him know so late they were hoping that he was going to overlook it and say, all right, just go ahead with it. They're playing these games with him, this kind of stuff. And I am skipping around a little bit, but another thing that John Ramsmeyer did was he argued that there should be a $150,000 cap on Ellen's claim, loss of society claim. I'm summarizing it as a loss of society claim. There's more to it than that, but you can just summarize it as that. There is a New Hampshire statute that says something like that, but there are plenty of arguments that it could be much, much greater. And he himself had previously stated on the record that the claim was worth much, much more than the $150,000 discussed in that particular statute. There's this law. He could have argued that the federal common law should apply, and that that would provide for much greater award. And he could have simply argued that this was from an out-of-state court, so the New Hampshire statute shouldn't even apply. But the point is that he didn't argue this. He argued to limit Ellen's claim, and that's completely consistent with him representing the insurance companies and United at the same time.
It's all about money. It's all about money.
Yeah, but that conflict of interest, it makes sense then when you see him arguing for as little as he can for Ellen Mariani when he's representing the opposing attorney. This is outrageous stuff. This should never be happening in an American courtroom. This is the kind of stuff you imagine in some backwards country somewhere where everybody's paid off and all this stuff.
Well, look, it's just like the conservatorships, the horrific things going on in the conservatorships, like what's happening to Charles Castle and other people, and of the being abused by the conservatorships, and these in collusion with the psychiatric mind controllers. It's unbelievable with the psychiatric mafia. I don't know about you, but there's a big problem with psychotropic drugs. If maybe that's the reason why there's so much madness in the world to begin with, when you get down to it. But,
okay.
Certainly a side story. But yes, I mean, it's the same type of a thing. They do the same thing. They get the lawyers and the judges involved. They're backed in this case by Big Pharma's connection to the healthcare in the state of California, for example.
Right.
Really unbelievable tyranny going on, and corruption. It's unprecedented, and nobody is aware of it. They're watching American Idol.
Well, yeah, right, exactly. But, we're all brainwashed by this media, and we've got to just, we're going to hell in a handbasket. We've got to start fighting. We've got to start fighting back. And this is one fight that's already on. She's done her part. She's still fighting. She's been fighting. She's refused to take the hush money. I didn't mention, everybody's been given a gag order, or they've been forced to sign these non-disclosure clauses. None of these parties can talk about it. As far as I know, they've all been given these non-disclosure clauses. Ellen's the only one who's still fighting. She's done her part. Let's meet her halfway. It's not that much money, but we all need to help. And most of these donations are coming in. They're relatively small. Many of them are like $100, and so we need a lot of them. And people have been very generous, but we need more. MarianiLawsuit.com. MARIANI lawsuit.com. Please help. We need all the help we can get.
Well, that's great, and you're really doing great work again, Vin. So, I mean, it's unbelievable, the whole fraud, and that they've tackled all of these 90+ cases, tackled them to leaving just this last shred of liberty and chance for that somebody's gonna. I mean, then you have to it's unbelievable. They're just the resistance level at the legal, judicial, and the obvious connection between the intelligence agencies. This is a daunting task, but we must expose it, and that's why I'm happy to help any way I can.
Yeah, and I very much appreciate it. I commend you for your stance and for having me on and for your obvious support in this. And let me add, Ellen Mariani, she's hanging on legally by a thread. But maybe I didn't make that clear.
Oh, yes, no, it's very clear to me.
Okay, but maybe to the audience, I'm not sure I made it clear. Sure, her case has been settled. What happened was she made a motion to intervene. That's asking, like, anybody can make a motion to intervene if you think you have a basis, but she's not even a party, is what I'm saying. She's trying to get back in as a party, and this has been twice denied. She's gone to the appeals court tonight, so now she's trying to. She's trying to go to the U.S. Supreme Court with this appeal, and the thing is, there's so much meat to put in there that it stands a good chance of being. It's hard to estimate the chances, but it's very possible that it would be granted, and that that would really open a huge can of worms in a good way if the petition gets granted. But we have to collect the money first. So everybody, please help out. Please help out. We could use the donations. We've got to fight back against this, and she's fighting. Let's help her.
Oh, that's great words, man, and let's please listen. And I'm going to start adding that to my streams here. We have a streaming live here on livestream.com, Truth Talk News 24/7. There's a lot of truth and information here as well for live streaming information. It's actually broadcasting. Okay, that's the little warning we have before the break on the first hour. I want to thank you, Vincent Gillespies, for joining me and giving out this information. Thank you for spending time with us.
You're very welcome. Thank you very, very much for having me on. You seem like a real good guy to me. Doing good work.
God bless you, and death to the New World Order, and we're going to help Ellen Mariani. Remember, Mariani lawsuit.com. Mariani lawsuit.com.
Yep. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, Vince. Take care.
Okay.
Okay, we'll be taking a short break here in just a minute once I can get the computer to operate properly. Second part of the show, we're going to have second hour news and information, and then surprises for the third hour. So stay tuned. Again, you're watching We Are Change Connecticut on TruthBroadcastNetwork.com and Project Freedom Radio. And this is Azure Soul with Illumination. God, I can't believe it. All right.
may be even more widespread. And look for more complex facial recognition programs that scan a crowd of thousands looking for a single terrorist. The latest home security locks use fingerprints to control deadbolts. And at the Jewel Osco grocery store in Chicago, some customers pay using their fingerprints. No paper or plastic.
You don't really need anything other than your hand, and you already got that with you.
Now the UN is backing a plan to change all of that and create a new global currency.
We are change, exposing the collectivist global elites' Malthusian quest for a new world order. A one-world dictatorial government where all aspects of human life are under their control. Truth Talk Radio, where news the mainstream media ignores is the top story and your voice is heard.
Good afternoon, I'm Howard Nema, and you are, of course, watching We Are Change Connecticut. My good friend Vinny B. The Truth, my partner in Liberty, is, again, having a lot of issues that have to be attended to elsewhere, but he, of course, is with us in spirit. And a shout out to you and your family, and hope things are well. Vincent Gillespies is going to be our guest in just a few minutes. He was recommended to me by my good friend Melanie here in Connecticut, another patriot, getting the information of truth out.
The Americas Society, Chairman David Rockefeller. The Forum of the Americas, founder David Rockefeller. The Institute for International Economics, financial backer and board member David Rockefeller. The Trilateral Commission, founder and honorary chairman David Rockefeller.
Thank you very much, Richard, and I am delighted to be here in these new headquarters. I have been often to, I guess, the mothership in New York City, but it's good to have an outpost of the council right here down the street from the State Department. We get a lot of advice from the council, so this will mean I won't have this far to go to be told what we should be doing and how we should think about the future.
He was chairman emeritus of the CFR when Vice President Dick Cheney once served as a director, a relationship that Cheney concealed during his congressional career.
It's good to be back at the Council on Foreign Relations. As Pete mentioned, I've been a member for a long time and was actually a director for some period of time. I never mentioned that when I was campaigning for re-election back home in Wyoming.
Too many kids are what's making the planet worse.
A lot of these kids come from bad gene pools. They don't have stable parents making good decisions.
Mercury-containing vaccines may help, not harm kids, according to 2 new studies in the journal Pediatrics. These new studies suggest that the opposite, that the preservatives may actually be associated with improved behavior and mental performance.
Fluoride in water is supposed to fight tooth decay, but could it also cause cancer? Turns out the government had the...
More in one small country. It is a big idea, a new world order, where diverse nations are drawn together in common cause to achieve the universal aspirations of mankind. Freedom and the rule of law.
Republican and Democratic presidents alike, from Harry Truman to George Bush, stood for freedom and stood for certain propositions that would make America strong and healthy and grow the middle class and shrink poverty and stand against communism. And after 1989, President Bush said, and it's a phrase that I often use myself, that we needed a new world order.
I think its task will be to develop an overall strategy for America in this period when really a new world order can be created. It's a great opportunity and it's a crisis.
A new world is emerging. It is a new world order with significantly different and radically new challenges for the future.
The year is 2017. You're rushed to a hospital, unconscious with no ID or medical history, but thanks to a microchip under your skin, it's all there. Science fiction 20 years ago, but a biometric reality today.
The technology is based on answering one simple question. Am I who I say I am?
Already, fingerprints and iris scans verify passenger identities at airports. Within 10 years, that technology...
Nemo of We Are Change Connecticut. I want to give a shout out to Bobby K and thank him for assisting us in getting the broadcast out while the informed radio servers are down. Thank you, Bobby K.
Don't assume it was left by accident. If you see something, say something.
I don't think that private institutions have control over insurance currency.
We need a manufacturing base, and then our economy will take off like a rocket.
A special televised meeting of the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations provides a window to the real story. The speaker, Vice President Dick Cheney, takes a question from David Rockefeller.
Vice President, I just enjoyed so much your whole speech, but I was particularly pleased that you gave such a strong endorsement for the free trade agreement for all the Americas, subject that has been of great concern to me for many years.
Yes, you collectivist scum.
I think it's absolutely essential for the strength of our economy.
Rockefeller's role in the drive for an FTAA was a lot more central than he portrays. Rockefeller cultivated Latin American leaders who could be counted on to support such a proposal. Both the 1994 Miami Summit and the FTAA proposal were conceived and nurtured by a Rockefeller-created network. Prominent among the organizations sponsoring the Miami event were the Council of the Americas, founder and honorary chairman David Rockefeller.
The right under U.S. law to conduct secret testing on the American public under specific conditions.
The government-sponsored experiments did take place at hospitals, universities, and military bases around our nation. Some were unethical, not only by today's standards, but by the standards of the time in which they were conducted.
Any attempt to achieve world order must be the work of the devil. Well, join me. I'm glad to sit here at the right hand of Satan.
There's a need for a new world order. Someday, in the next few years, a solution will emerge.
The Great Wall is no longer a wall dividing China from the rest of the world, but it is a reminder of the fact that there are many walls still existing in the world which divide nations and peoples. But we are determined that those differences not prevent us from living together in peace. The interest that each of us has to maintain our independence and the security of our peoples, and the hope that each of us has to build a new world order.
We are in process of developing a whole series of techniques which will enable the controlling oligarchy to get people actually to love their servitude. People can be made to enjoy a state of affairs which, by any decent standard, they ought not to enjoy.
What is at stake